up against a defensive guru today.
Yeah, well, Rex Ryan and his defensive skills are no surprise to anybody. He's going to throw some stuff at Locker he hasn't seen before. And Greg Williams, welcome back to the National Football League, a new addition here in Tennessee, and you know he's got something cooked up for Geno Smith.
We remind you today's game is being broadcast in Spanish where available using the SAP button on your television. Tennessee Titans won the toss and have deferred, so the New York Jets will get their hands on the football first. The Titans 2-1 and the Jets 2-1. Clyde Gates is deep for the New York Jets. And this one will sail out of the end zone, and the Jets will begin at their own 20-yard line. And that Jets offense, as we've just detailed, in the hands of rookie quarterback Geno Smith, turnover prone at this early stage of his career. He nevertheless has steered the Jets to a 2-1 start and seems to impress most everyone that comes across him, Dan.
Well, he's composed. He's very likable when you sit and talk to him. He's intelligent. He's got a good grasp of things, but he is a rookie. And rookies get exposed, especially on the road. This is a noisy place to play.
This is Bilal Powell, and Powell for maybe 3 yards or so. A steady offensive line for the Jets, anchored by four-time Pro Bowl center Nick Mangold in his 8th year out of Ohio State. The New York running game has been very good behind the AFC's second leading rusher, Bilal Powell, a career-high 149 yards last week in the win over Buffalo. He picked up 4 at 2nd and 6. Smith looking, throwing. That ball is intercepted at midfield by Alteron Werner. Werner to the 25, the 20, and out of bounds, setting up Tennessee deep in Jets territory.
Well, that's interception number 7 on this young season for young Geno Smith, trying to get Stephen Hill, and you can see the ball severely underthrown, and then Stephen Hill just gets KO'd by Michael Griffin as Werner runs this ball back, and Stephen Hill is still on the ground at the 50-yard line.
Boy, KO'd is right, Dan. He was standing right upright and got bulldozed by Michael Griffin.
Werner had outstanding coverage on Stephen Hill. That's a football that Geno Smith should have just checked down or run with it, but not throw it.
Geno Smith off his 7th interception of the season. Werner returned at 34 yards, and Jake Locker and the Titans are set up now at the New York 18-yard line.
To go! Ready, go!
This is Chris Johnson turning the corner. And out of bounds short of the 10-yard line. Let's go back to that interception.
Yeah, Stephen Hill is split out wide to the left. Here he is over here, and he's just going to run a simple post pattern. And Geno Smith, I think, identifies that he's got single coverage, even though there's a single safety. But it's a severe underthrow, and he throws it way back too far to the inside. Now, Michael Griffin, as he hits Stephen Hill with the crown of his helmet. And he's liable to hear from the National Football League about that hit because he hit him flush with the crown of his helmet.
This is Chris Johnson, and Johnson to the 5-yard line. And it'll be 1st and goal. Let's go take a tight look at that hit.
Well, the National Football League, in looking to player safety, wants shoulder hits, and you can see that Michael Griffin leads with the crown of his helmet. He goes, there didn't appear to be any attempt whatsoever to strike Stephen Hill with a shoulder. He hit him right with the top of his helmet.
Running back Jackie Battle into the backfield for Tennessee.
Blue 80! Way to go!
This is Battle. The New York Jets, the best team in the National Football League in red zone touchdown defense. Opponents 2 for 9 so far this season.
Well, Rex Ryan is a wonderful defensive mind, and that illustrates the point that Greg just made. And, they're aided by the fact that he's got the best front 7, maybe, that he's ever had with the New York Jets. You might be going back to his Baltimore days to have as talented a front seven as he's putting on the field for the Jets now.
Ready! Ready to go!
On second and goal, once again it is Battle, and Battle is stacked up at about the 1.
Mike Munchak telling us that we got away here in Tennessee. We got away from winning the line of scrimmage. And that is something that we are trying to get back. When Jeff Fisher was the coach here, they weren't glamorous, they weren't spectacular, they weren't full of huge, big, explosive plays. But they knocked you off the ball, and they defended the run really, really well.
Third and goal.
Ready to go!
Walker will throw this. Lofty, wide open, touchdown. Delaney Walker.
Well, this is just a complete whiff by the Jets defensively. Delaney Walker, nothing fancy. He just lines up at a conventional tight end position. And the Jets so concerned about stuffing the run, don't honor their pass. Look there on the right side of your screen. The Jets so completely overplayed the run, they gave Walker a clean release, and Jake Locker's looking at one of his teammates is standing in the end zone begging for the ball.
Rob Baronis for the extra point. 6 out of 6 on the season, now 7 out of 7. A touchdown set up by the interception by Alteron Burner. His third of the season turns into a 1-yard touchdown pass. Jake Locker, Delaney Walker, 7-0, Tennessee.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Verizon Edge. Get that new phone feeling again and again. And by Orville Redenbacher's Popcorn. Get your Orville ready.
Back to a full house in Nashville, Tennessee. Jake Locker, having taken advantage of the interception. 5 plays, 18 yards, and his 4th touchdown pass of the season. And Tennessee leads at 7-0. Clyde Gates is deep again for the Jets. And once again, we'll not get a chance to run this one back as this goes all the way back to the back of the end zone. And here comes Geno Smith.
Well, now you got to wonder about Geno Smith and his confidence level right now after turning the ball over so quickly. The stat sheet reads what it is. 3 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. Mark Sanchez does what he can to try to aid Geno Smith. He's on their injured reserve list, subject to return late in the season.
Stephen Hill is not on the field. Jeremy Curley is at the wide receiver spot.
So right now, Geno Smith has got to work on short-term memory loss. Shake it, put it out of your mind.
This is Powell.
Now that'll help. That'll help him running it like that.
Check Tennessee's front line. It's missing Sammy Hill at defensive tackle. Antonio Johnson starts for him. The Titans excited about the play of number 55, Zach Brown. 2 sacks to his credit in his 2nd season out of North Carolina. And the secondary this season adds maybe the hardest hitting safety in football in veteran Bernard Pollard.
One of the things Marty Morningwood told us, he wants Geno to run more this game.
Powell to about the 27. Third and 3.
The Pittsburgh Steelers losing today over in London. Remarkably fall to 0-4. That just doesn't sound right. And there's a false start by DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
False start, number 60, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
These New York Jets coming off a 20 penalty performance against Buffalo last week. It's phenomenal, 20 penalties, Dan, but the fact that they committed 20 penalties and won the game.
Yeah, that doesn't seem possible. And Rex said, I'm not into making guarantees, but I will guarantee you this. We will not have 20 penalties again.
3rd and 8. Smith, incomplete, intended for Holmes.
And there's a real misfire by Geno Smith. Nashville sends, the Tennessee Titans rather send one extra blitzer, and that is a simple little post pattern. Holmes was open. That is pretty much as easy a completion as a quarterback and a receiver can dial up together, and that was a misfire.
Darius Raynaud is deep. And this one will sail out of bounds somewhere around the 25 or 30-yard line. We have 10:24 to play in the first quarter. Jake Locker back onto the field with a 7-0 lead. Hey, this week, don't miss the show that's in a league by itself with guys that take on all 32 teams and each other every week. James Brown, Phil Simms, Chris Collinsworth with the artistry of NFL films and the chemistry of the boys. Catch Inside the NFL Wednesday at 9 only on Showtime.
Well, Geno Smith off to a rocky start, 0 for 2 with an interception to get this game started. Jake Locker, on the other hand, already has a touchdown pass in the bank.
Titans from their own 25. And Locker to throw. Outside, right there, and out of bounds for a first down across the 35 to Kendall Wright. Tennessee quarterback showing he can win with his arm and with his legs this year. 3 touchdown passes, 4 touchdown passes now, 1 rushing. Hasn't thrown a pick yet this season.
Well, just what you just said, Greg. You don't have to be Peyton Manning if you don't turn the football over. Your quarterbacking level of skill takes giant leaps upward when you don't throw picks.
Red 80. Ready to go.
Locker to throw again. Going to lob this one up the sideline. It is caught. Damian Williams. What a beautiful lob from Jake Locker.
And this young receiving core for the Tennessee Titans, even without Kenny Britt, there is so much to be excited about. And again, that's pretty darn good coverage by Darren Walls. He was stride for stride right there with Williams. That was just a superior throw and catch. Jake Locker dropped in a perfect throw.
Darren Walls in the starting lineup in replace of the injured D. Milner. First down.
Ready to go.
Chris Johnson. And Johnson to about the 37-yard line. A big and veteran offensive line for the Titans with one exception, rookie right guard Chance Warmack. 3 BCS championships at Alabama under his belt. And one of the most explosive backs in football, Tennessee's Chris Johnson, number 28, still looking for his first touchdown of the season.
But this is an offensive line still working to find their rhythm. All new in the middle with Levitre, Turner, and Warmack. 2 anchors, though, with Roos and Stewart at tackles. That's a luxury.
Locker. Play fake. Going to this sideline, and that's complete to Colin Mooney out of the backfield. Let's take a look at the Jets' third-ranked defense, and it is a good one. Muhammad Wilkerson with 3 sacks in 3 games. 4 good linebackers to back up the front 3, led by David Harris in his 7th season from Michigan. And a sore hamstring keeps first-round draft pick D. Milner on the sideline, and Darren Walls, as we mentioned, starting for him at cornerback.
And with the absence of Darrelle Revis, who's gone to Tampa, Antonio Cromartie is playing good, solid football at the other corner.
Locker throwing this side of the field, complete inside the 25-yard line to Damian Williams once again. And that is another Tennessee first down.
And Dow Loggins, the offensive coordinator, you can see Locker, he's looking left the whole time. Again, they're taking their time going after Walls over there. There's no mercy in the National Football League, and I think the Titans are very wise. I would hold off on trying to challenge Cromartie. Darren Walls would be my object of choice.
It's 5 first downs already for Tennessee today.
Red 80. Ready to go.
Locker, puck from behind and brought down at the 26-yard line. That was Calvin Pace.
And Muhammad Wilkerson in there as well. That's one of the things that a Rex Ryan defense does. They always collapse the pocket. Now Locker has time to throw. He could have delivered a pass if he'd have found somebody open. But that's a classic case of the guys on the back end did their job, and then finally the guys up front cleaned it up.
Jets have been getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, ask E.J. Manuel in Buffalo. 8 times they got him.
On the 2nd and 13, that pass is complete to Kendall Wright, and right down just short of the 20-yard line.
Good play there by Kyle Wilson, who had a tough go last week. He came in and made a good tackle that time on that bubble screen. This Jets defense, they're just so in tune now to the big play potential of Tennessee. They lost the game here last December where they just corralled Chris Johnson on every run except one. And that, unfortunately, went for 94 yards. And it was the difference in the game.
From the shotgun, Locker looking well, throwing down the sideline, incomplete. Now there's a penalty flag down, but you can't say that ball was catchable. Walt Anderson is our referee today.
Well, again, Darren Walls was the corner. He's working on that side of the field. Cromartie staying put on the far side.
Holding, number 30, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
You know, Greg, when they call defensive holding, it's hard to say the ball wasn't catchable because they're going to say the guy would have been there if he wouldn't have been held. Again, Rex Ryan has got to just be ready to pull out his hair at the penalties that his football team continues to commit, and especially the kind of penalties that give you an automatic first down like defensive holding.
From the 16.
Ready to go.
Johnson. Nice play, knifing in Demario Davis.
Demario Davis, number 56, the Jets love him, and for good reason. He's playing the will linebacker. He's taking the place of Bart Scott, but this guy can run. This guy's instinctive, number 56. Look at him knife in right there. He can cover some ground, and they have got to find the 3rd-round draft pick last year. This guy's going to be a really, really good football player.
No gain on the play, 2nd and 10 for Tennessee. This is Chris Johnson. Johnson hit at the 15, spins forward to about the 13.
Well, David Harris makes a hit on that time. And Chris Johnson so far this year not able to really shake loose. He's got a 3.7 yard per carry average. And again, I mentioned earlier about the whole new interior of this Tennessee offensive line that is going to take a little while to gel. The running game is not near where they'd like it to be, even though they're cranking it out at pretty good numbers at 134 yards a game. It's still not where they need it.
Ready to go.
Locker on 3rd and 8, quick pass this side, that is complete and very close to a first down. Appears to be maybe about a yard to a yard and a half short, and down and injured is Kendall Wright.
We've been talking about this young receiving core and how talented they are, and one of those guys is Kendall Wright. Look at him go up in the air. Oh, and right there, his right leg gets caught underneath in the tackle. That hurts.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Kelley Blue Book. Everything you need to make a smart new car decision is at KBB.com. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Back here in Nashville, Kendall Wright was able to walk off the field, did a little jogging behind the bench. They're already down a receiver today. Kenny Britt is inactive. He fractured a rib against San Diego.
4th and 2, no time to be greedy. Tight ball game. You take the 3 points. You got a rookie quarterback on the other side. Take that 10-point lead.
Rob Baronis does just that. It's 10-0 Tennessee.
You are watching the NFL on CBS.
Hey, fantasy football fans, still time to get in and play with the best this season. New games are available to join today. Sign up now at cbssports.com/football. 4:20 to play in the first quarter. Rob Baronis has not yet given Clyde Gates a chance to run one back.
That's because Baronis has one of the strongest legs in the NFL. He's got a 60-yard field goal to his credit.
Not going to be returned either as this one extends over. And now Geno Smith back onto the field to try to right the ship, Dan.
Well, yeah, he's got 7 picks already on this young season. 3 of them against the Patriots in that debacle, and then a couple more in their win over Buffalo. And then today, the second play of the game, the first pass he attempted, intercepted by Alteron Werner. And guess what? Right off the bat,
another flag against the New York Jets. This one is holding. Backs the Jets up to their own 10-yard line. Smith rolling, sideline. That one is complete across the 25-yard line to Jeremy Curley.
we think maybe we've identified it. Look in the upper right. Oh, Brett, go. Yeah, you can see it right at the very end there. That's Ben Obamanu, who just unnecessarily after the play takes a shot and gives a two-hand stiff arm to a Tennessee guy, and that cost the Jets 15 yards.
Jets now out to their own 26-yard line. Smith under pressure and goes down. Back at the 16-yard line. That is Ropati Pitoatua, a former New York Jet.
All 6'8" of him. And again, take a look at straight four-man rush, but Vlad Ducasse, the left guard, he gets beat initially by Casey, and that's what puts Geno Smith on the run. It was Ducasse initially, and then Ropati comes in and cleans it up. But that was a breakdown at the left guard position that set that sack in motion.
That is the 10th time this season Geno Smith has been sacked. And it leaves the Jets with a 2nd and 18. Powell hit hard at the 20, spins forward to the 21. Zach Brown, the first man to hit him.
Well, Bilal Powell is going to have a busy day today with Chris Ivory being inactive. Ivory injured his hamstring in the Buffalo game last week. And Mike Goodson suspended. He comes off and he'll be eligible to play next week, but Powell is going to have to do most of the heavy lifting in this game.
Here's a big 3rd and 15. Movement up front.
Well, I think they're going to get that on Tennessee. They were in the neutral zone. I think they caused the Jets to jump. That should be a neutral zone infraction.
Neutral zone infraction, number 99, defense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That's defensive tackle Jarrell Casey.
He's in the neutral zone, and that causes both Cologne and Austin Howard to come out of their stance.
Were you one of those finger pointers on the line? As soon as somebody moved, did you just stand right up and point fingers?
No, because it never does any good. Besides, I always felt like a tattletale if I did that.
Geno Smith throwing over the middle, diving for it is Santonio Holmes. And that's across midfield and into Tennessee territory for a 1st down.
Well, first of all, the Titans are going to send some pressure. Here comes pressure off the edge, and a good job of picking it up. Powell gets a good enough block, and when you see that throw, you see what the Jets like about Geno Smith. That ball had some mustard on it.
Under pressure too, and now here is Powell working his way about the 40-yard line and about a yard short of another 1st down.
Well, Powell made that happen the previous play, that completion, by picking up his blitzer. So Powell getting it done both running it and in the pass protection scheme.
9 yards, 2nd and 1. And we are under a minute and a half to play here in the first quarter. Powell once again with a first down and then some. Inside the 35 to about the 32.
Well, if the Jets can keep running the football with this degree of effectiveness, they're going to be right back in this football game. First of all, your rookie quarterback needs all the help you can give him running the football. But this is, as an offensive lineman, you know this is your time to try to aid the cause here. You got to help the kid out.
Smith to throw on first down over the middle. That's incomplete, and looking for a penalty marker is Kellen Winslow, and he doesn't get one.
Well, he had Bernard Pollard all over him. That's why Winslow was a little incredulous that nobody threw a flag. A couple of veteran players here. These two have been to a few rodeos before, and Bernard Pollard got away with a major hold. He just grabbed the jersey and the shoulder pad of Kellen Winslow. He should have been flagged for that. That was beyond 5 yards.
Smith on the move. Throw it wide open. Incomplete. Threw it too high for Jeremy Curley to handle.
Jeremy Curley did not have a Tennessee Titan within several yards of him, and that ball just floated something terrible on Geno Smith. We're going to get a great look at it from behind after the play action. All right, Smith does everything right, but look at Curley. 5 yards is the nearest Tennessee defender. And as sometimes happens when you're running with the football, you don't use the proper mechanics, you're not able to set your feet, and the ball fails. 3rd and 10.
Good protection for Smith, sideline, and that is complete to Bohannon. And Bohannon was brought down short of the 25-yard line, well short of a first down. And we'll see if that is the last play of the quarter.
Well, the wind isn't a factor. There's really virtually no wind whatsoever, so I don't think a decision to kick one end or the other makes any difference here.
Well, be that as it may, Mr. Deerdorf, we're going to change ends anyway.
Yep.
We run out of time here in the first quarter. Tennessee 10-0 in this battle of 2-1 team. We're back to Nashville after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Welcome back to Nashville as we get set to start the second quarter, and we will do so with a Nick Folk field goal attempt. He is 6 out of 6 this season, including the game-winning 48-yarder Week 1 against Tampa Bay. This one will come from 45 yards out. So Folk to get the Jets on the board. Got it away and right down the pipe. 14:55 on the clock here in the second quarter. 10-3 Tennessee. Hey, tonight it's the season premiere of The Amazing Race. 11 teams take off on the adventure of a lifetime. New race begins tonight after 60 minutes. Only CBS. Looked like Geno Smith maybe lost a little bit of the early game jitters.
Well, that was
last series.
That was an effective drive on his part. He's thrown the ball a little better. They had an easy first down, except when he overthrew Curley. But he threw a beautiful pass that Santonio Holmes laid out for. The end result ended up putting points on the board. They're off the snide.
What exactly is the snide?
I think it's a term from playing gin rummy.
Okay.
It means you're getting blanked.
Darius Raynaud will not get a chance to return this one. Today's leaders today. Well, Jake Locker, no jitters for him, 7 out of 7. 61 yards and a touchdown. Bilal Powell with his 32 yards to lead the Jets' ground game. Kendall Wright with 3 catches so far today. From the 20-yard line.
There you go.
Kendall Wright is back on the field, by the way. Locker on the move. Cuts back. And pretty much back to the line of scrimmage. And now we have a penalty flag.
After the runner was on the ground, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 50, defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
That's Garrett McIntyre.
Well, DeJuan Landry puts a good tackle on Jake Locker, puts him on the ground. Oh, and they're calling McIntyre there for coming in late and landing on top of Locker. Wow, could he have pulled up? Yes, I believe he could have. Did he go in and really hit him with a shoulder or a helmet? No.
Chris Johnson and another flag.
Holding, number 67, offense, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Well, the referees and the officials that giveth, the officials taketh away. So,
I thought they were givething, they were givething some more.
well, it's a tit for tat here. You got one on the Jets, and now the Titans back up themselves.
When we talked to Rex last night, he was fairly calm about it, but inside you could tell the penalties make him fit to be tied. First and 20.
Blue 80. Way to go.
Locker under pressure got rid of it and off the hands of his intended receiver, Nate Washington.
Well, Nate Washington in his 9th year is still being very productive here for the Titans with 15 catches coming into this game. And he sits right down in front of Antonio Cromartie, and this should have been a completion. That's just an inaccurate throw from Jake Locker. Washington was there. Cromartie gave him a suitable cushion. That should have been a relatively easy pitch and catch.
Washington chalked up a career high 131 receiving yards last week in the win over San Diego. From the shotgun now, Locker throwing sideline complete across the 30 and hit and out of bounds at about the 31-yard line is Delaney Walker.
There is Kenny Britt, the 5th-year receiver. He's inactive today. He's got a couple of cracked ribs. But he's in the final year of his rookie deal, a 5-year deal that he signed. He was their number 1 draft pick out of Rutgers back in 2009. And you pretty much get the impression that his run here in Tennessee it's winding down, coming to an end. Delaney Walker's still unsure of whether or not he's all right. Looks a little shaken up.
Here's Locker on a 3rd and 14. Lots of time throwing this side of the field incomplete. Intended for Damian Williams.
Well, Damian Williams was just being shut out by Antonio Cromartie. There was no chance of a completion there. But just to conclude on Kenny Britt, what's going to be interesting to see, I think he's finished here in Tennessee. I think he wants out. He hasn't been productive for a long time since he had a knee injury a couple years ago. And it'll be interesting to see if they trade him, if anyone is interested, before the trade deadline, the end of October.
Jeremy Curley is deep for the punt. Whoa! Almost blocked. On his own 15-yard line. Curley. Maybe a 4-yard return. Colin McCarthy making the tackle. Jets almost had some terrific field position, but it wasn't to be. Not this time. We welcome you back to Nashville. It is very, very obvious that it has begun to rain. The weather forecast, one of those rare occasions it's come true. As the Jets begin from their own 20-yard line, Geno Smith from the shotgun, running out of time now and on the move. And he's going to run it out of bounds, just short of it. We want to let you know that we are operating today without one of our fearless leaders. Our director, Bob Fishman, had a fall at home earlier this week and underwent some surgery, and we are happy to say that he came through the surgery well. He'll be out of action for a while, but we trust he'll be back to work in his normally ornery self.
Suzanne Smith is more than capably filling in. Suzanne, glad you're here, but Fish, we're with you in heart and mind.
We're out Powell for a couple of yards.
Well, here we go now with a 3rd and long situation. Not exactly what any quarterback wants to find himself facing, much less a rookie quarterback in the rain on the road. The good news is that the rain, I think, is calming some of the crowd noise you normally get here in Nashville.
Here comes another flag, and it's going to be against the Jets.
False start, number 62, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Well, Vladimir Dukas had 4 penalties in the game last week. And here, and you can see that right there, and he just rocks back. That's a false start, no doubt about it. Push-ups during practice. Rex did everything he could do to try to raise the awareness level with this football team. And already they've got 5 penalties. And who knows where they're headed.
Smith on 3rd and 13, little pump fake, all the time in the world, and throwing it near sideline, and that's grabbed by Curley. And you got a little taste of the kind of throwing arm that Geno Smith has right there.
Well, you also get the taste of what happens when you go with a 3-man pass rush and they don't get anywhere near the quarterback. And I'm talking nowhere near the quarterback. Geno Smith only threw this because he wanted to. He could have sat in the rocking chair for another 5 seconds. Sometimes that defense will drive you crazy.
23-yard pickup and a 1st down. Give it to Powell. And Powell up the middle to about the 44. Dan, how does a coach against penalties? I mean, I'm sure you don't want to take the enthusiasm and the drive out of your players by saying, be careful here, be careful there, be careful there. But let's face it, some teams are better at it than others.
Well, you know, some penalties come because an inferior player is forced into holding someone by a superior player. But those are pre-snap penalties, what Dukas just did. That's lack of focus, lack of concentration. Talent level doesn't come into play there. That's just not smart.
Geno Smith throwing this side of the field, and that's complete to Clyde Gates, but he can't get anywhere. His forward progress going to be marked at about the 46-yard line. Akeem Ayers hit him there.
Greg, you take an offensive lineman of average capabilities, and you put him across from Warren Sapp or a Hall of Famer, that guy is going to get called for holding because that's all he can do. He's forced into it by a disparity in their talent level. Pre-snap penalties drive coaches wild for good reason. And it's just lack of focus, lack of concentration, and completely and utterly avoidable.
Here's another 3rd down situation now for Geno Smith and the Jets. Smith gonna run it. Gets a 1st down. There's a hit, late flag, and there's a loose football. Picked up by Alteron Verner. Now the penalty flag was behind the play and thrown in the backfield of the Jets. Here's Walt Anderson.
Holding, number 62, offense. The ruling on the field was a fumble, recovery and return by the defense. The penalty is declined. 1st down.
There's Geno Smith, and you can see the ball just gets knocked cleanly out by Zach Brown. No question about that being a fumble. I think that's number 55, Zach Brown. Goes right for the ball, channeling his inner Lawrence Taylor, tomahawking that football. Geno Smith had no chance of holding on to that.
Turnovers and penalties killing the New York Jets.
You've got to have some awareness that people are coming from behind.
This is Chris Johnson, cuts it back inside the 25 to about the 24. And the turnovers continue to come for number 7.
And there is no way that being a young man like Geno Smith right now just isn't rattled. 9 turnovers directly attributable to him. You know, right now he's, and Kellen Winslow is very smart to have a guy of that veteran experience sit down next to him and try to say, look, everybody goes through this.
Blue 80! Way to go!
Johnson on 2nd and 8. And did just about the line of scrimmage. Damon Harrison and Calvin Pace converge.
And Chris Johnson looks, he didn't exactly bounce right up. That was a pretty heavy hit that he took. Let's look at the finish of this run. Again, just trying to go in off right guard, trying to follow his fullback, and he gets a big hit. And you can see it. Chris Johnson can't shake it off.
Now the Jet defense gets to make a stand at 3rd and 8. Locker throwing, got his man at the 15, inside the 10, close to the 5 is Nate Washington, and it'll be 1st and goal.
And, you know, good job by Jake Locker of delivering an accurate pass. I want you to watch Nate Washington at the end of this. Watch him cover up the football. Look at him keep both hands. He is a wide receiver who's got great speed, but he's sacrificing everything to hold on to that football. Look at Jake Locker. He works the left side of the field the whole way. No check down there. He was going to Washington regardless.
1st and goal now at the 6-yard line. Chris Johnson. And David Harris meeting him at the 5.
Tell you one thing about Chris Johnson. The first thing you think of with him is speed. But he pounds it between the tackles on a regular basis, a lot of times, only a yard or 2 at a time. And no one has ever questioned this guy's toughness. He takes a beating and doesn't say anything about it.
Locker rolls, looks, throws, incomplete out of the end zone. Kendall Wright was there and double covered.
Yeah, he threw that away. That's all there was to that. Good coverage that time by the Jets. Kendall Wright was bracketed. And again, Jake Locker, that's in a compliment to the Jets defense, he just flicked that way out of bounds.
Rain continues to fall here. It's 3rd and goal.
Jake Locker only making his 15th start. He has, even though in his 3rd year, he doesn't even have a full season's worth of starts under his belt yet.
Locker with time, throwing, caught, touchdown, Washington.
Well, it's pretty apparent that Jake Locker really trusts Nate Washington to be where he thinks he's going to be. Take a look at this from behind. It all starts with a great job of pass protection by the guys up front. But just a quick slant to the inside against a pretty soft zone of the New York Jets. And if you're a Jets fan, you're thinking to yourself, wow, that looked pretty easy. And Jake Locker continues to grow.
Well, I was about to say, Dan, that it's pretty evident that Jake Locker is playing with a high level of confidence.
Yes, and he's, for good reason, Greg. He's playing smart football. And this is a Tennessee team that is yet to turn over the football.
Baronis. And it's good. The Jets continuing to turn the ball over, and Tennessee continuing to take advantage. 14 points now off 2 Jets turnovers, and they lead at 17-3.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Chrysler, imported from Detroit. Samsung Smart TV. TV has never been better. And by Bud Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Back in Nashville, we were just talking a few moments ago about the level of confidence that's pretty obvious in Jake Locker. You could say that whole level of confidence applies to this Tennessee Titans team, too. The people that they've brought in, people like Bernard Pollard, who have added to the leadership on the field and in the locker room, they have a really good feeling about themselves this year.
Well, they're kind of a nice mix of this on this roster of a lot of youth, but some real stable veterans. And we just saw one of those veterans catch that touchdown in Nate Washington.
Clyde Gates will get a chance to run this one out of the end zone. Across the 20 and out to about the 23, maybe the 24-yard line. Cody Sensabaugh with the hit, and Geno Smith will go back to work after this. 6:41 to play in the second quarter. These Tennessee Titans, 3 games right off the bat, no turnovers. Kansas City committed 3 today, yet still beat the Giants. This is Bilal Powell, and Powell with running room. Powell out to the 35. That'll be a first down. And let's go back to that touchdown.
Yeah, Nate Washington is split out here to the right. Oh, my telestrator just went wild on me here. Here he is. He's going to come out here and go back to the inside. Cromartie's on him, but watch Cromartie slip and go down. Antonio Cromartie loses his footing, drops to the ground. I had thought that was a zone because of how open he was. Actually, man coverage. Cromartie just lost his footing and slipped.
Geno Smith will throw. This is Powell out of the backfield, and Powell, midfield, 45, coming to the near side, and being chased and will run out of bounds at about the 30.
Well, one of the Tennessee Titans, I got to see which one it was, went to try to knock the football away from Bilal Powell, and in the process doesn't do what he's supposed to do, make a tackle right there. I think it was Akeem Ayers, the linebacker. You know, your job is to tackle right here. Bring him to the ground. It looked to me like he was swinging at the football and came up with air.
Powell to the sideline, Alex Green in the backfield, will set it down just inside the 30, and this is Green running room right side. And Bernard Pollard with the tackle.
Well, this is what the Jets have to do. Even down by 14 in the second quarter, they have got to run the football. They cannot abandon the running game. Marty Morningweg knows that. He cannot hang Geno Smith out there to just try to win this game doing nothing but throwing the football. If they can run this successfully, if they can get in the end zone, this game is very much still in play.
Smith with a screen for Alex Green, and Green is stacked up at about the 25. And Akeem Ayers making the defensive play there as we come up on 4.5 to play in the first half.
Now, I know in the Jets playbook that they have some designed runs for Geno Smith. He scored last week on a designed quarterback draw. Marty was talking to us about that we would like to see him get out and move a little bit more. It takes a lot of the pressure off the passing game if he could move the chains a couple times by running.
Third down, that pass is complete inside the 20, inside the 15, and to about the 10-yard line is Kellen Winslow for a first down.
Another flag in the Jets' backfield.
Illegal hands to the face, number 66, offense. 10-yard penalty, still third down.
Unbelievable. Rex Ryan has got to be beside himself. That's Willie Colon, the right guard, who gets called for an illegal hands to the face. Colon is right here. Let's take a look. Yep, there's his right hand. He just doesn't get off the face mask of Akeem Ayers, who is coming in on a blitz. If you get your hand up there, you got to get it down in a hurry.
So instead of a first down at about the 10-yard line, they're back at the 35 and looking at a 3rd and 15. Another penalty flag. Lots of time for Geno Smith. Complete over the middle. This is Jeff Cumberland, the tight end.
Well, at least we know it wasn't a false start because they kept playing. So you wonder if this is, I don't know.
It's against the Jets.
Illegal shift, 2 players in motion and not get set, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
I'd keep all sharp objects away from Rex right about now.
Again, 42 rushing yards. How demoralizing this has to be, not just for Rex Ryan, but every single player for the New York Jets. They are This is just sloppy football.
3rd and 21. On the slant, that's complete to about the 30-yard line.
Well, at least trying to get Folk into some kind of field goal range.
Clyde Gates making the catch. By the way, Stephen Hill, the official word on him is a head injury and he will not return.
Well, can the Jets execute a field goal without a penalty? It's a legitimate question, isn't it?
You betcha. Nick Folk from 47 yards. And Nick Folk like a rock right down the middle. 2:26 to play in the first half. 17-6 Titans.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. And by State Farm. It pays to double check. Talk to your agent today.
2 minutes, 26 seconds remaining here in the second quarter. 17-6. Tennessee in the league. And gee, what do you think the topic of conversation is going to be in the Jet locker room at halftime?
Well, they're going to have to come up with a big play, and maybe they have to do it, in an unexpected way. Maybe a kickoff team forces a turnover. Maybe a defense gets a pick six and runs it in. They need a collaborative effort here.
Turning the ball over again is something the Tennessee Titans have not done yet this season. Darius Rayno will not return this one out of the end zone, and so it'll come out to the 20-yard line for a first down. And we remind you, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher will have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. They're looking entirely too comfortable back in New York.
I like Shannon's sport coat. That's a good-looking coat he's wearing there. Looking very autumnal.
Autumnal?
To go.
From the 20.
Bad 80. Ready, go.
Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson is always a big play waiting to happen.
But again, he's being corralled to the tune of about 3 yards a carry, and that's exactly 3 yards a carry. And I'm sorry, from a defensive standpoint, you are thrilled with that.
And that'll take us to the 2-minute warning. It'll be 2nd and 6 when we come back, but 2 minutes to play here in the first half, and Tennessee in charge, 17-6.
To go.
Here's Chris Johnson, we mentioned a couple of moments ago. He's just a big play waiting to happen at every time. Meanwhile, down in the backfield goes Jake Locker.
I'd take a timeout right now. Call a timeout if you're the Jets. Try to conserve some time so that your offense will have a little bit to work with.
So the clock is stopped with 1:52 to play. Yeah, they inadvertently let the play clock run, but now that's been reset to 25 as the Jets called their first timeout here in the first half. Well, that sack of the quarterback was a big play by the Jet defense because it leaves Tennessee with a 3rd and 16 and gives Rex Ryan a chance to stop the clock and get the ball back after this next play if they can make a stop.
Well, and we're going to see Jake Locker out of a passing formation.
Locker going to pull it down and run.
A designed run all the way. They weren't going to give the Jets a free stoppage of the clock by putting the ball in the air.
So the Jets use a second timeout to stop the clock now with 1:45, and we'll get the ball back on the punt.
Yeah, Jake Locker under no circumstances was going to put that ball in the air. An incomplete pass would have left the Jets with 2 timeouts.
And by the way, we hear about all the speedy quarterbacks around the NFL. Mr. Locker can pick them up and put them down.
Rex Ryan, now I know that's who they're playing this week, but he thinks Jake Locker runs better than any quarterback in the NFL. Now, I know, we've got Kaepernick and we've got Michael Vick and we've got a lot of guys that can really scoot. Jake Locker is one of those guys. It's surprising how well he runs. He ran that way at the University of Washington when he played there. Jake Locker makes it happen when he gets outside the pocket.
Brett Kern to kick it away to Jeremy Curley. Jets came close to blocking one the last time with Tennessee played.
This would mean so much to the Jets if they could get something going before halftime.
Fair catch called for and made by Curley at his own 36-yard line. And a reminder, tomorrow on CBS, some men are for marrying, some are just for fun. Three-time Emmy winner Tony Shalhoub stars in the new comedy We Are Men. Series premiere tomorrow after How I Met Your Mother, only CBS.
Well, the last couple of times that Geno Smith has gone back to throw, the Jets offensive line has given him a really comfortable pocket. And look at him, 8 of 12 after that horrible beginning. They are marching off a 5-yard penalty against the Titans. Interesting that we have the former Titans playing the current Titans. Anytime the Jets and the Tennessee Titans get together, the Jets the first couple of years in the league. The New York Titans.
On first down, Smith throwing sideline and intercepted right into the belly of Alteron Werner, his second pick of the day.
Well, Geno Smith trying to force the ball to Santonio Holmes. And again, Werner and Holmes looked like they were joined at the hip. You can't have coverage any tighter than Alteron Werner had on Santonio Holmes. And the ball really kind of caroms off the shoulder pad of Santonio Holmes right into Werner's midsection. And again, I know you want your guys to try to make a play, but throwing into that tight of coverage, not just the chances of success are slim.
That's 3 Geno Smith turnovers today, 10 on the season. That's the most of any NFL quarterback. Locked over the middle. That's complete to Chris Johnson.
Yeah, Tennessee that time didn't go for the home run. They didn't run a pattern beyond 10 yards. Again, he's got all 3 timeouts.
2nd and 8. Walker throwing this way, and that is complete and out of bounds. Delaney Walker stops the clock with 1:02 to play.
And again, this is, watching Jake Locker last week. He engineered a touchdown drive at the end of the first half in that win against San Diego, and then he engineered an extensive 90-plus yard touchdown drive to win the game. When you do that at the end of the first half and the end of the game, you've shown that you're growing as a quarterback.
3rd and short yardage. Locker still on the move. Can run for the first down, and he has it, and he goes out of bounds just short of the 30-yard line. 52 seconds on the clock, and a new set of downs.
And they still haven't used one of their 3 timeouts. They've still got all 3 of them in the bank as Rob Barones starts to loosen up. But right now, given the fact that you're moving the ball like this, I'll guarantee you Jake Locker isn't thinking anything about. Neither's Dow Logan. He's not thinking at all about setting up field goal position.
From their own 32 now. Locker on the move and throwing and complete just inside the 30-yard line to Damian Williams. And we get a timeout used here to stop the clock with 43 seconds to play. Tennessee with 2 timeouts remaining.
Well, the Jets that time came with a 4-man pass rush, and what a luxury that is when you can come with 4 and get the quarterback on the run. They didn't have to run a scheme. They didn't have to do an overload blitz, anything like that. When you've got talent like the Jets have up front with Copels and Wilkerson and Richardson they create a lot of pressure just on a four-man rush, and it's a luxury for the guy calling the defense. Geno Smith, this has been a brutal first half for him. I know Matt Sims is their backup. He's the only other quarterback dressed in this game. But Geno Smith is the future. You don't give up on him.
Pass the far side of the field, and that is complete to number 17, Damian Williams. Very close to a first down. No timeout here as we come up on 30 seconds, and now they call the timeout.
Yeah, they wasted about 5 or 6 seconds right there with some indecision. And with it being third and short, you can't run up there and spike the football, because all that does is bring about fourth down. So
once again, a reminder, the Verizon halftime report upcoming. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and the coach for the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. I understand what you say, Dan, about how Geno Smith is the future. How Geno Smith is the future for this franchise. But this is a team that's off to a 2-1 start, and you're not exactly going to give up on a football game early in the season either.
No, but I guess the question the coaching staff has to ask themselves as we look at Mark Sanchez is, would Matt Sims at this moment, in this would he give us a better chance to win? That's a question only the coaching staff can answer.
Locker underthrowing Damian Williams, and that prevented an even bigger gain as he goes down at about the 16-yard line.
Now you hurry up. Now you hurry up. You want to keep that one timeout remaining to be able to set up for your field goal.
And we get a whistle. And they may look at this catch. Let's see.
The previous play of a completed pass is under further review.
Well, the replay official upstairs wants Walt Anderson to come over and take a look. Boy, at first glance, it looked to me like he cradled the ball. Looked to me like Williams was did the ground assist in him making that catch? Remember, it was ruled a completion on the field.
That looks like a good catch to me.
I think the ball is on his forearm and not on the field. I think that's a heck of a... I think it's a legitimate catch. I think the official on the field called it right. I think Damian Williams did a heck of a job digging that ball out and keeping it off the grass. Again, because of the ruling on the field of being a reception, Walt Anderson would have to see complete visual proof of it bouncing off the ground, and I certainly didn't see it.
All right. And with 14 seconds on the clock, Jake Locker has at least one and maybe even two shots of going at the end zone.
I just think I think that was ruled correctly.
I do too.
By the guys down there in the striped shirts. The ball bounces, but I think it bounces off his hands up into his chest, and then when it comes back down on the forearm.
Here's Walt Anderson.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a catch. It'll be 1st and 10. The game clock will wind on my signal on the field.
So Tennessee needs to get up there on the football. Well, did Tennessee call a timeout? Mike Munchak is saying, no, we didn't. Wait a minute, the officials are going to confer here.
First timeout for Tennessee.
Again, Walt Anderson's mic is going in and out. It was not a timeout, I believe the last thing he said called by Tennessee, but Tennessee needs to get up there on the ball.
Yeah, he's getting ready to
Walt
wind the
Anderson's
clock.
getting ready to wind. You've had all this time, guys. What are you doing? You should have been on the line of scrimmage, standing there.
Walker throwing for the end zone, far side of the field, leaping for it. Touchdown! Justin Hunter, the rookie.
Justin Hunter, if this stands, Justin Hunter has a grand total of 2 receptions in the National Football League, and both of them are touchdowns. Look at him go up, secure the football,
And come down with it.
come down with it in the field of play. That is an unbelievable effort by Justin Hunter. That ball never touches the ground, and when he gets complete control of the football, he is in the field of play.
That's a career high 3 touchdown passes in a game for Jake Locker.
Hunter caught the game winner at the end of the San Diego game last week, and now he gets this one at the end of the first half. 2 for 2.
And this with a scramble to get the playoff before time expired.
And you know, his catch last week was a remarkable catch. Justin Hunter, let me tell you something. This guy will compete for the football. Look at him go up. Walls does his best to try to get off the ground. He just doesn't get much in the way of elevation. The elevation all belonged to Hunter.
As Dan mentioned, his other career catch in the National Football League came last week against San Diego. And look at that grab. He fights for the football.
And that catch came with about 30 seconds left in the game and gave Tennessee the win. Justin Hunter, the touchdown machine. He should ask to only be put in the lineup when they're in the red zone. Somewhere down inside the 30 or something.
And make that 21 points now for the Tennessee Titans off 3 New York Jets turnovers. And when it comes in the final seconds of a half, that's a backbreaker, Dan.
Well, I think Geno Smith has to stay in this game unless Rex Ryan thinks that psychologically it would just be crushing for him to continue to play. You know, this is a big boys game, and sometimes you just got to work your way through it. We'll see what happens.
We have come to the end of a half. That was a terrific first half for Tennessee. One not so good for Geno Smith and the Jets. 24-6. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. This is the NFL on CBS.
Protect our house!
Diving for it is Santonio Holmes. Justin Hunter leaping for it. Touchdown! Greetings indeed from Nashville, where the Titans lead the Jets by a score of 24-6. Take a look at the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam. It was that terrific catch in the end zone by the rookie Justin Hunter that gave the Tennessee Titans their 24-6 lead at halftime. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf. And Dan, put yourself in Rex Ryan's shoes right now. How long do you go? How far do you go with Geno Smith, and what do you have to see from him before you elect to make a change?
Well, I think you presented to Geno Smith, Greg, as simply this. You have an opportunity now in the second half to go out and build on something. Everyone has had a disastrous first half. There's not a quarterback in the game who hasn't had a disastrous first half. That's what Geno Smith had. He has an opportunity to, at the end of the game, say, yes, it was terrible, but look how much better I was and we were in the second half. Geno Smith, right now, is the future of this franchise, and I just don't think you pull the plug at this stage.
Well, there is Matt Sims, and he is the backup. Brady Quinn,
the
third quarterback. That's right, he's inactive today. And Tennessee won the opening toss and deferred, so they get their hands on the football first here in the second half. And Reno will not run this one out. So first down from the 20-yard line for Tennessee as we look at some halftime numbers.
Well, and again, here it is, the 3 turnovers. You know, the yardage, everything else is pretty much in line, with the exception of the fact because of those turnovers, Tennessee has been playing football on the New York side of the 50. And Jake Locker has been unbelievably efficient, 16 and 19, not for a lot of yards. But anytime you throw 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, you're getting it done.
Walker throwing far side, that's incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10. These New York Jets come into this game giving up just over 16 and a half points a game, and they surrendered 24 in the first half thanks to those turnovers.
Greg, it was nice to see Jake Locker there targeting Kendall Wright. Remember in the first half, he got his knee bent. He had a really awkward angle. He was out of the game, and he's back in it now.
Set, go.
Tough kid.
Red 80. Ready, go.
Chris Johnson. And Johnson back to the 20-yard line. It was Chris Johnson last December, in a tight game against the Jets, busted one for a franchise record 94 yards.
You know, the funny part about that game was, for all his other carries, he carried it 20 times for 28 yards, with the exception of that one run. And you know, the Jets defensively, if containing Chris Johnson was what you had to do to win, well, they've done that to this point.
Walker on 3rd and 10. Under pressure, threw it over the middle, and that's complete to Kendall Wright for a first down across the 30.
Nice job by Jake Locker of standing in there. He saw the blitz coming straight at him. There's no way you're going to miss it. Look on the right side of your screen. Here it comes. And he just stood right there. Realizes that Jarrett is going to put a lick on him, and he delivered a strike downfield to Wright.
Go. Blue 80. Ready, go.
Now from the 31, here's Chris Johnson again. And nowhere to go for him.
And again, this is a Tennessee team. Mike Munchak, he's got to be proud of them in one regard. They still have not turned over the football in the 2013 season. That is a recipe for success. They are now +8 in the turnover differential for the year.
Red 80. Ready, go.
Walker flips it out to Johnson. Avoids one tackle and two, and across the 35 to about the 37, maybe the 38-yard line.
And I'd like to see Tennessee run more plays like this, just trying to get Chris Johnson with a one-on-one out in the air, out in the open. And right there you can see he makes Davis miss. Demario Davis, he does get a hand on him, but that was about it. He reroutes him back to the inside. And again, Chris Johnson is just, every time he's that little skosh away from something really big happening.
Tennessee, 7 out of 10 on 3rd down today.
70%. You almost can't move.
That's incomplete at the 40. Pass intended for Delaney Walker, the tight end. So the Jets stopped him on 3rd down here, and we'll get the football back.
All right, good job there by the Jets defensively. Gave up a couple first downs, but again, they force a punt.
Jeremy Curley back at his own 11-yard line. Looks like the rain has stopped for the moment.
Communication with play.
High kick floating to about the 12-yard line. Curley is surrounded. Terrific special teams play by the Tennessee Titans. Will start the Jets deep in their own territory. Geno Smith back at it at quarterback after this. So let's see how Geno Smith gets started here in the second half. From his own 19-yard line with Bilal Powell in the backfield.
Let's see if Geno gets some help from his Jets teammates.
Powell under pressure and has to get rid of it in a hurry, and it's incomplete.
Well,
Zach Brown was in on him.
That's not getting any help on the very first play, as he's got to deal with an untouched blitzer right up the middle. There comes Zach Brown, completely disregarded, as the Jets linemen were all busy with somebody else. And whatever Geno Smith had in mind went away as soon as he saw that blue jersey coming right at him.
Those eyes came right back to Zach Brown. Powell. Nowhere to go.
Well, both of these quarterbacks today, they're both young. Jake Locker in his 3rd year. Geno, a rookie, throws an interception. He's going to get the ball knocked away for a fumble. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jake Locker has thrown some touchdown passes here. This was at the very end of the second quarter as he drops it in on Justin Hunter. And there's the numbers, and you can see right here, 3 touchdowns, not much here, and certainly 3 turnovers. A major disappointment.
2 interceptions and a fumble. Smith. Over the middle, overthrew Santonio Holmes.
And Geno got crushed. He had a chance. He got rid of the football, but from his right, you can see coming in on him, and he can see him coming. Derek Morgan put a pretty good shot. And just like that, 3 and out, and the Titans are going to end up with decent field position. But again, Geno Smith under pressure on a couple of those plays.
Ryan Quigley will get this one away inside his own 5-yard line. Darius Reynaud. And we get a penalty marker on the far side of the field. This one was thrown fairly early on in the play, too.
Well, it's by the official working the sidelines. Wonder if somebody went out of bounds.
Number 21 of the kicking team went out of bounds on his own. That's a 5-yard penalty. It'll be added to the end of the kick. Timeout.
That's another Jet penalty. That's 8 on the day.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. The U.S. Postal Service. Schedule your free package pickup today. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
On a cloudy, overcast day here in Nashville, it's been mostly sunshine for the Tennessee Titans, who lead 24-6 and have some pretty good field position. They begin at the 38-yard line. Locker. Incomplete. Overthrew Nate Washington.
And
Jake Locker is flat on his back. And Jake is not moving much.
Jake is rigid and stiff as a board and reluctant to move that right leg, it looks like.
Hit a couple of times.
On the follow through, his right leg swings around and he takes a helmet right in the chest. Is that Muhammad Wilkerson?
That's who it is, the first one to hit him.
And that right leg kind of whipsaws. Wilkerson puts his helmet right into the chest, and then as he goes down, and they're bringing out the cart. I don't know if Jake Locker suffered some sort of a hip injury or Ryan Fitzpatrick
is the backup.
He's been with St. Louis, with Cincinnati, with Buffalo. He's a veteran, no question about it, and he's won in the National Football League before, but Jake Locker off to such a tremendous start here this season. And the medical staff is wasting no time. They're going to take him off on a board.
And usually these things take a little examination out on the field. They wasted no time bringing the cart out.
Well, first of all, I'm surprised Wilkerson wasn't flagged for hitting him late with a helmet right in the chest.
Let's take another look.
Jake has a clean release of the football. And here comes Wilkerson, who, in my mind, lowers his helmet and hits Locker right in the chest. And then Locker caroms going across into Quentin Coples, and then immediately clutches at his right hip.
And members of the Jet defense joining in the applause for Jake Locker as he is loaded onto the cart. Well, this is a blow to a team that's been going pretty well and a quarterback who's been going very well.
Well, Jake has suffered some sort of a right leg injury. He was grabbing at his hip, and you can see that they've got that right leg strapped down.
Eighth pick overall back in 2011. And as soon as we get word on his status, we'll pass it along to you. Meanwhile, Ryan Fitzpatrick into the lineup. And on 2nd and 10, he'll give it to Chris Johnson. And Johnson is corralled back at the 33, 34-yard line.
Well, as we've seen from previous athletes going off the field, the crowd chanting his name, and Jake Locker tries to reassure the crowd with a thumbs up, but you got to just wonder how seriously he's hurt.
He became pretty inert in a hurry.
Well, he wasn't going to move at all.
So a 3rd and 13 now, and Fitzpatrick back into the shotgun.
Well, the Jets, I'm assuming, are going to dial up some pressure here on Fitzpatrick.
Throws it over the middle. Oh, what a catch made across the 50. And about the 40-yard line is Kendall Wright for a first down.
I think the thing you have to keep in mind is that Ryan Fitzpatrick has been playing in this league for 9 years. And it's a 5-man rush by the Jets, and they don't get any pressure whatsoever. And Fitzpatrick is able to get a sight line downfield. The ball's a little bit high, but it doesn't make any difference. Kendall Wright goes up and gets it. But Ryan Fitzpatrick has won his share of games in the National Football League. If you want a veteran coming in that has to play when he's not expected to play, you could do a whole lot worse than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Now from the 40, straight drop for Fitzpatrick. Running out of time, on the move, and throws it away.
Good job that time by the Tennessee offensive line. They really gave Fitzpatrick a lot of time. The secondary of the Jets had to hold their coverage for an extra couple of seconds. Tennessee only has 10 guys out there in the huddle. Here comes Damian Williams at the last minute. Always helps to have 11.
That's a lot of time the Titans are spending in Jet territory. Here's Chris Johnson, nowhere to go. Shakes one tackler, can't shake the rest of them, and is down at about the 44.
Well, you know, this Jets defense, Greg, in my opinion, is playing pretty tough football considering that Tennessee has run 46 plays and the Jets have run a total of 29. So they have been on the field a long time. But a nice job there by McIntyre, number 50. He set the edge, and Chris Johnson couldn't get to the outside, and by the time he cut it back, everybody was there waiting for him.
Chris Johnson has run for a -6 yards this quarter.
But this defense has got to be getting a little gassed.
On 3rd down now. Incomplete, near sideline. Damian Williams, the intended receiver.
Well, again, they're challenging Antonio Cromartie. And Cromartie is staying put at the left corner position. And the Titans continue to try to go to the right side. Quite frankly, I would abandon the right side. I think Antonio Cromartie is one heck of a corner. And he doesn't give you an opening very often.
Titans have confirmed what we thought, that there is an injury to the right hip, and they are evaluating him as we speak. Fair catch ball for by Curley and made at the 15-yard line. 8 minutes, 44 seconds to play in the third. Can Geno Smith pop the offense? For the third time today, the Jets begin a drive inside their own 20-yard line. And you see the results of the drive. 2 field goals, 2 3-and-outs, and 3 turnovers so far. Smith under pressure and going down for the safety.
Well, they're looking to see. He might have been at the 1-foot line. It depends where contact with Geno Smith is first made by the Titans.
Well, you're right. They're setting it at the 1-yard
Runner's
line.
forward progress was ruled at the 1-yard line. The runner's forward progress was ruled at the 1-yard line. The second down.
Wow. Yeah, this crowd doesn't like it. But contact is made with Geno Smith outside the goal line, and then he's driven back into the goal line by Patoatua, and that's the official will always give the runner or the quarterback in that situation the benefit of the doubt.
Walt Anderson coming over to Mike Munchak.
I don't believe this is a challengeable play.
Mike Munchak has the penalty flag on the field, so maybe that's exactly what Walt Anderson is telling him.
I'm
going to pick it up and give it back to him.
Yeah, I don't think this can be challenged.
The ruling on the field was forward progress. That is not a reviewable play. And Tennessee is not charged with the challenge.
Read the rule book, but that's the truth. And Geno Smith was contacted outside the goal line. Now, granted, he looked to me that if he wasn't contacted, he would have gone back into the end zone on his own. But he got a break. And then again, forward progress is not a reviewable play.
2nd and 24.
That's a judgment call by the official. You got the officials now calling a timeout. I don't know if the replay official upstairs is weighing in with his opinion.
But it is neither a turnover nor, well, whether or not it could be a scoring play.
No, it wasn't ruled a scoring play, so it's not a scoring play. Walt Anderson says we're going to play ball.
From their own 1-yard line. Smith out of his end zone, tip, and caught at about the 10-yard line by Jeremy Curley.
And again, that throw from Geno Smith had a lot on it, and it was high, and Jeremy Curley had to go up, and that could have been and almost was intercepted. That ball shouldn't have been that high. Curley, a sensational effort on his part, but how close was that to being picked off?
And Curley, a bit shaken up on the play, walks off the field.
Cody Sensabaugh almost came away with that football. I'll say this, Marty Morningweg, he's putting the ball in Geno Smith's hand. He's not getting conservative, throwing out of his end zone.
Geno Smith throwing far side of the field. That is complete. And Clyde Gates is run out of bounds, short of the first down.
There's another penalty flag on the field.
Holding, number 15, offense. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
That penalty is on number 15, Ben Obamanu.
And because they didn't get the first down, it's a punting situation. And you can see right there again, Cody Sensabaugh, number 24, gets spun all the way around because of the double team and the hold.
Ryan Quigley set to kick it away to Darius Reynaud. High from the 23. Up the sideline, running room, and pushed out of bounds in Jet territory, close to the 40-yard line. Ellis Langster pushed him out of bounds. Fitzpatrick and the Titans with good field position once again.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Toyota Care. Scheduled maintenance, no cost. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
First down, Tennessee Titans to give us to Jackie Battle, and Battle blows his way inside the 40 to about the 37-yard line. Our chance to remind you Thursday on CBS, the only thing worse than having your parents split up is having to move in. Will Arnett, Margot Martindale, both bridges are the Millers, premiering Thursday after the Big Bang Theory only. CBS.
Well, the story of this game to this point are the two quarterbacks. One, the play of Geno Smith, and the other, the injury to Jake Locker.
And here's Battle again. Let's go back to that injury to Jake Locker and take a look at it in real time.
The quarterback is a defenseless player and cannot be contacted by another defensive player with the crown of the helmet anywhere on his body. And I don't think there's any question that Muhammad Wilkerson comes in and hits Jake Locker with his helmet. It wasn't penalized, and granted it was kind of a bang-bang play, but it appeared that Wilkerson took a good step and a half or two steps before he contacted Locker.
Fitzpatrick on 3rd and 4, going to throw it this side, and that's incomplete. Coming down at the feet of Nate Washington.
I just want to finish up by saying it was obvious that was not some intent to injure by Muhammad Wilkerson. I mean, he wasn't going after his knees or anything like that. He got a shot on the quarterback and he took it.
And the question that will be asked is whether or not you consider that a late hit.
Right. And what happened is that in the ensuing fall to the ground and contact is when Jake Locker got hurt.
Brett Kern, who's done a good job kicking the football today for the Titans. Going to angle this one inside the 5, and what a play down at the 2-yard line, the 1-yard line.
Kern has had a sensational day punting.
Down by Tommy Campbell, deep. Hey, get inside the mind of a quarterback. Join Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, Steve Berline, Adam Shine on NFL Monday QB. Tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
Well, again, the Jets with horrific field position.
Does this look familiar to Geno Smith?
Yeah, like things aren't going badly enough. This field position is just salt in an open wound.
The Jets with just 6 total yards this quarter. This is Tommy Bohannon getting maybe a yard out to the 2. The numbers on the day. Jake Locker was having himself a pretty good afternoon until he left with the injury. Bilal Powell, the game's leading rusher with 52 yards.
And the story on the right, the Jets defensively have just done a great job of not letting Chris Johnson get loose at all. He can't shake the Jets.
2nd and 8. Geno Smith got rid of it before he was buried in the end zone.
Well, it's not every day that you get to watch a pocket completely disintegrate and fall apart like that. We used to call that a jailbreak. This is every one of the Jets' offensive linemen getting driven back into the quarterback. Whoa. Geno Smith. Who wants to sign up for that duty? The Jets are accepting applications right now.
3rd and 8. Time running down on Geno Smith.
He didn't get it off. No, there's another penalty. That's delay a game.
Back to the snap. Delay of game. Offense. Half the distance to the goal. Still 3rd down.
9 penalties on the day against Rex Ryan's Jets.
And you can't decline that penalty because the play never happened. So, well, the crowd will get into this. Marty Morningwig is one. My quarterback is going through some tough times. How's he going to come out of this on the other side?
Third and 9. Pump fake. Down the middle, it's complete. Across the 25 to Kellen Winslow.
That's why Geno Smith is still playing in this game. Because that's a learning experience. What a good throw. His line came through for him, gave him some protection, and he just put that dart right onto the hands of Kellen Winslow. And finally, they're not backed up to their own goal line.
Little breathing room from the 26. Smith throwing this way, and Santonio Holmes wasn't looking.
Here's the completion to Kellen Winslow. Geno Smith again. Yeah, he took a shot at the end, but by and large, that was good pass protection, and he delivered. Now, the last time, not so much. Greg Williams, Jerry Gray, they're having fun coming up with different blitzes. Here they come again.
This is Powell, and Powell spins across the 30, and he's going to be ruled down at the 31-yard line before that ball came loose.
Take a look at this. Nice spin there by Powell. He has complete control of the football down on the ground, and that's not even in the same zip code as a fumble.
3rd and 5.
Greg Williams are a little excited.
Smith, good protection over the middle and completely missed his intended receiver Winslow that time.
Santonio Holmes is barking at the officials. He thought he was interfered with. And again, there was underneath coverage, underneath Kellen Winslow. And if Geno would have tried to force the ball to Winslow, I think that might have been another pick.
So Darius Raynaud back at about his 20. And here's Quigley. From the 22. Tripped up, and here comes a penalty flag.
They might be getting Tennessee for a block in the back.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 24, receiving team. 10-yard penalty with 1st down. Timeout.
That penalty is on Cody Sensabaugh as we come up on 3.5 minutes to play in the 3rd. Tennessee with the ball in the lead. Back in Nashville, 3:36 to play here in the 3rd quarter. From their own 13-yard line, the Titans give it to Jackie Battle, running room out across the 20 to about the 23-yard line, and they'll be close to another 1st down. Next Sunday, the NFL on CBS ramps up doubleheader action. Dan and I will be in Cincinnati for that New England Bengals game. And then Ravens take a run at the Dolphins, and Peyton Manning and the Broncos battle Tony Romo and the Cowboys. Check your local listings. It all begins with JV Dan Shannon, coach, and Boomer.
Greg, this is the 2nd series that Jackie Battle has replaced Chris Johnson, and he's getting better blocking than Johnson got the whole game to this point. Except for that night.
You had to go and say something.
Well, he's had a couple nice runs with some really good openings. But this time, not so much. Leger Duzable, he just snuffs this one out.
By the way, we have no further word on Jake Locker's injury, only that he is being evaluated and will not return today. Second and 11. Fitzpatrick throwing to the outside, and that's intended for Kendall Wright. Incomplete. It'll be third and 11.
Yeah, that was just not a really accurate throw from Ryan Fitzpatrick. The Harvard grad threw the football around the Harvard yard and has carved himself out a pretty nice NFL career.
Here come the Jets after Fitzpatrick. Got rid of it. Far side, incomplete. That was Darren Walls on Nate Washington, and that'll force the punt.
Yeah, at first it looked like Walls got a great break on the ball, and he had a chance to undercut Washington and make it. That might have been an interception if Walls didn't tangle his feet. Right there you see he caught his right foot on the leg of Washington and went down. I think Walls, we might have been looking at Tennessee's first turnover there. Walls had a great jump on the ball.
Yeah, the first turnover of the season. Curley is deep. This one will bounce and take a Tennessee roll out of bounds.
There's Kern,
and here comes Geno Smith.
And there's Kern with another great play. Well, Geno Smith has had a tough day by any measure. He's been hit, he's been sacked, he's been under duress. He's had a few occasions where he's been able to get set. That was nearly a safety. And again, all you do when you're a rookie in a situation like this is try to maintain your composure and try to learn. Put these experiences in the bank. Can they make me a better player?
2 interceptions and a fumble today by Smith. Running out of time, and he's going to run it. No one there, right up the middle, and slides down at the 40-yard line. First down, Jets.
Well, this is what happens when you catch your opponent in man coverage. They don't have any idea that you've taken off with the football. They're all running with their assigned receivers, and by the time they whip their heads around, they find out you're already 15 yards downfield.
And Smith, quick pass across the 45 to Kellen Winslow.
Kellen Winslow doesn't get to practice a lot with the Jets. He's got some wear and tear on him over the course of his career, a balky knee.
Missed the entire 05 season.
But again, he has been a real blessing for the Jets. A little read option here for Geno. And he really fooled the Tennessee Titans coming around the corner.
And this is a penalty against the Jets.
The illegal shift, number 15, offense. Did not get set prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
That's Obabanu, and again, those are those pre-snap penalties that are a result of just not paying attention to detail, not being as focused as you should be. They're completely avoidable, and that ruined a really nice confidence play for Geno Smith.
Smith throws this one, and that's caught at midfield by Winslow. And that should be enough for a first down.
That's going to move the chains. And again, the Jets going no huddle, showing the urgency that they should be showing in this situation.
We are in the final 17 seconds of the third quarter. Powell. Nowhere to go. And that will take us to the end of 3. We've come to the end of the third quarter here in Nashville. The Titans leading the Jets 24-6. Back after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Along with our producer Mark Wolf and our director Suzanne Smith, Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, and the rest of our terrific CBS Sports crew, we start the fourth quarter. Tennessee with a 24-6 lead, and Geno Smith in the offense. Starting from their own 49. Second and 12.
Comes the blitz again.
Throwing on the crossing pattern. That is complete to Obamanu. And he'll be about 4 yards shy of a first down.
Jerry Gray and Greg Williams, the two defensive minds behind this Tennessee defensive team, have thrown everything at Geno Smith. That's the lot that a rookie quarterback gets in this league. You're going to get it until you beat it. But you need some help from your teammates.
Third and 4. Smith on the move. Going to run for it. Looking for first down yardage. Did he get it?
I couldn't see because of the players on the Tennessee bench. I don't know how close he got.
He's close, but I don't think he's quite there.
Well, you see the fist up in the air. That's a signal for fourth down that he wasn't there.
And there's no question that you're going for it here on fourth down.
Yeah, there's no doubt about this at all. It's less than a yard and you're behind 24-6 in the fourth quarter. Nobody agonized thinking about this.
Alex Green and Tommy Bohannon are in the backfield. The pitch for Green. Nothing doing.
Well, that's an all-or-nothing play. That's one of those plays in a short yardage situation. You roll the dice. That could have been a touchdown or it could be a complete stone. Guess what?
A complete stone.
A complete stone.
You are watching the NFL on CBS.
The Jets chalked up more than 500 total yards last week against Buffalo. 64 total yards today. Chris Johnson in the backfield. Johnson with the football. Let's go back to that fourth down play by the Jets.
Yeah, Tennessee's got 9 guys. They've got 9 guys in the box here, okay? So guess what? The Jets pitched the ball in an effort to go for a big play. Unfortunately, they pitched the ball right where there is a Tennessee Titan standing and waiting. Michael Griffin, that was his responsibility. I'm sure Marty Morningweg was going, instead of just picking up the first down by just stuffing it up in there, we're in desperate need of a big play. Well, he went for the big play, and the big play ended up going the other way.
On second and 8. Fitzpatrick throwing to this side of the field, and that is complete and out of bounds at midfield to Nate Washington after 5 straight incompletions. Ryan Fitzpatrick completes one to Nate Washington here, and Fitzpatrick on in relief of Jake Locker, who was injured earlier in this game and was carted off the field with a hip injury.
You can see as he fell to the ground, his right leg was a little bit splayed out to the side. And again, hip, groin, not sure exactly what we'll find out in due time, but really unfortunate for Jake Locker.
This is Johnson. And Johnson is cut down short of midfield by that Jet defense.
Pretty similar to the play that the Jets tried to run on fourth down.
Pretty similar results, too.
Exactly right. Yep, here we go again. Just the quick fake to the fullback. That's the exact same play. The exact same play that the Jets tried to run. It's just that DeJuan Landry was upfield and all over it, along with Copels. It was just...
I don't think that play is going to work here today.
Well, no, it doesn't seem to be working for either team.
Jeremy Curley back at his own 10.
Nice job there by the Jets defensively.
The fifth straight Tennessee punt. Turn. Fair catch call for made at the 16 by Jeremy Curley. 11:51 to play in regulation. If the Jets are going to do something, they got to start now.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by oneandone.com. Pre-reserved now from over 700 new domains with oneandone.com. The new LG G2, learning from you. With LG, it's all possible. And by the 2013 Ford F-150 with EcoBoost.
You talk about game prep. Members of our crew on Percy Priest Lake yesterday getting ready for today's action.
They'll stop at nothing to get everything exactly right.
Geno Smith under pressure, going down. Did he lose the ball? And it is a touchdown for Tennessee. Carl Klug, number 97. Got the sack, the recovery, and the touchdown.
The question's going to be, with Geno Smith down? It looks like the ball comes out. Does the ball come out behind Geno Smith? He's actually trying to change hands behind his back. Are my eyes deceiving me? Was he trying to hand the football from his right hand to his left hand behind his back? Well, that would be a first. I got to admit, I have never seen anyone try that before, and folks, that's why. Geno Smith, he gets hit in his right arm and somehow decides that it's a good idea to try to switch the ball to my left hand behind my back with a stop hitting my right butt cheek on the way there.
Meanwhile, it's the trifecta for Carl Klug.
Well, he gets a touchdown, Greg, lying flat on his back. He's lying flat on his back, and the football ends up on his stomach.
Geno Smith, fourth turnover of the day. 2 interceptions, 2 lost fumbles. It has been a nightmare trip into Tennessee for number 7.
Started off the game with an interception to Alteron Turner. He then is hit and fumbles, and then another interception as he tries to force the ball to Santonio Holmes. Now granted, it all started with Geno Smith setting up the throw and having Klug right in his face. That's not his fault. That's not his fault that he's under that kind of duress. Now what happened from that point on is Geno Smith's fault. Sometimes you just got to take the sack or try to get away from the guy, but dropping straight back and then trying a little trickery like that, that's a low percentage play.
Mark Sanchez, you saw him on the sideline. He's not available to return to action. Matt Sims is the only other quarterback available. Clyde Bates going to return this one on the run from the goal line. And the Jets cannot find a spark anywhere.
Well, Matt Sims, the only other active quarterback on the Jets roster, is apparently at this point nowhere close to coming in the game.
28 points.
There are growing pains with rookie quarterbacks, some more so than others. This is about as tough as it can get.
28 points for Tennessee off those 4 Jet turnovers. Smith over the middle and across the 30-yard line to about the 32. The catch is made by Winslow.
Well, that was a good job of pass protection by the Jets offensive line.
But it's been inconsistent
It's
today.
been very inconsistent. Geno Smith has been getting pounded. He has been under duress a great deal here this afternoon. A lot of kudos to Jerry Gray, Greg Williams, and the defensive players for Tennessee. They're the ones causing this.
Geno Geno Smith again, and that one is incomplete at the 40-yard line. Intended once again for Winslow and batted down by Cody Sensabaugh.
I think Derek Morgan puts Geno Smith on the ground again. Derek Morgan, just a straight upfield rush. He's going to move around the right tackle, Austin Howard. Oh, and DeBrickashaw Ferguson is lucky he didn't get hurt at the end of this. Look at Geno Smith land right on his right leg. Boy, and DeBrickashaw, luckily, he didn't get hurt on that.
Second and 10. Screen. Bilal Powell goes nowhere. Let's go back and take a look at.
Well, this is
Number
really
60.
close for the Pro Bowl left tackle of the Jets. As Geno Smith, watch, he's going to get hit by Morgan. And look at the right leg come back for Ferguson. And Geno Smith, man, he lands right on the back of his leg and right on Ferguson's right knee. He dodged the bullet there.
On 3rd and 9. That pass. And that is caught near midfield for a first down by Curley.
Oh, and that was a beautiful, beautiful back shoulder.
And we have Santonio Holmes down on the near side of the field at the 45.
Yeah, Holmes was completely away from the play on the other side of the field. That was an absolutely beautiful throw. And Santonio Holmes, who's, been slow. He had the Liz Frank injury, and it's still not 100%. And now he's walking off gingerly. He was completely away from the play on the opposite side of the field. Had the 69-yard touchdown last week in that win against Buffalo.
And the Jets were really feeling good about him and his progress.
Well, 5 catches for 154 yards will do that. And he's so vital to their passing game. Former Super Bowl most valuable player.
We've been talking about that offensive line of the Jets. Rex Ryan told us it is not set for the rest of the season by any means. There are a couple of youngsters backing up. Brian Winters, for one, their 3rd-round draft pick.
Yeah, he's putting
Waters,
pressure.
rather.
Yeah, Brian Winters is putting pressure on Vlad Dukas.
So now both starting wide receivers for the Jets are out of this game. Stephen Hill injured earlier, and now Santonio Holmes. On first down, Bohannon out of the backfield. Inside the 45 to about the 43. Let's get you back to the NFL Today in New York for an update.
The excellence that is Peyton Manning.
No doubt, he's doing it again. 4-yard touchdown to Wes Welker. That's his 4th of the day, 16th on the year. Believe it or not, no interceptions.
Unbelievable, Greg and Dan.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Geno Smith completing another one, this one inside the 40. And that's good for a first down. Kellen Winslow suddenly coming alive here.
Well, he's taken himself out of the game. He's heading back to the sideline. Kellen Winslow is giving it everything he's got. Rex Ryan is really pleased with the way he's worked.
This is Bohannon, and Bohannon inside the 35.
You can see right there that they're setting up to run that play where Geno Smith fakes it, rides it on in with Bohannon, and then he's going to take off with the football around the corner. He ran it successfully earlier, but it was brought back because of a penalty.
Jets are down to Curley and Obumanu as their wide receivers now. That pass is caught. That is Cumberland, and Cumberland for the touchdown.
You keep at it, and you hope that eventually something good happens. Just a 4-man rush, not a lot of pressure, and an absolutely perfect throw from Geno Smith. Simple route by Cumberland. Bernard Pollard gambles, comes underneath, and then Michael Griffin, who had over-the-top coverage, can't make the tackle. But that was a spot-on throw from Geno Smith.
Folk for the extra point. And it's good. 8:49 to play here in the fourth quarter. First touchdown of the day for the New York Jets. 31-13. Bernard Pollard upset that his defense surrendered a touchdown and has been ranting on the sideline for the last few minutes. Meanwhile, Dan, you and I were just discussing, is it too early here in the fourth quarter for the Jets to be thinking about an onside kick?
No, I don't think it is. And Tennessee's playing for the onside kick. They got their hands team up there, crowding that 10-yard line. Remember, the ball's, if they elect to do it, the ball's got to go 10 yards. And the Jets kick it away.
And this will bounce in the end zone for the touchback and come out to the 20-yard line. I want to remind you, coming up, time permitting after the game, the Subway postgame show. JV, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher will have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Subway postgame show.
Well, you never want to hear that a hamstring injury is good news, but the Jets are telling us that it's a hamstring issue with Santonio Holmes, which is certainly better than if it was a re-aggravation of the foot injury. So hopefully it's nothing too serious. He's much too valuable to them to lose him again for an extended period of time.
The Jets will go about the business of trying to put the stops here on the Titans. That's Jackie Battle for a couple of yards.
Well, you know that the Jets are going to load the box and dare Tennessee to put the ball in the air.
You know, Dan, back in New York, with the Giants starting the season with their losing ways, the conversation began to sway more to the New York Jets side, and they had a chance to come out of here at 3-1, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen that way.
No, it would be a heck of a story if they did come out of this 3-1. That would be a comeback for the ages.
Easy, easy. Check, 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 check. Red 80. Let go.
On 2nd and 8, this is Battle again.
You see Fitzpatrick taking it all the way down to 2 seconds on the play clock before he snapped the ball. They'll try to get as much time off the clock as they can. You know, I know expectations when you get off to a 2-1 start, and you got a chance at 3-1, but you got to keep in mind who's playing quarterback. I mean, Geno is a baby in NFL terms, and a baby that has been prone to turning the ball over. And until that is rectified, it's going to be harder and harder to win football games.
On 3rd and 7, Fitzpatrick rolling and going to go deep. Has a man open down the middle, and it is caught. Caught by Nate Washington, and he's going to go for the touchdown after the collision at the 30-yard line.
Well, the back judge, Billy Smith, ends up on the ground with Antonio Cromartie. Cromartie has got man coverage here. He grabs Washington. Washington's got to slow down for the ball, and Smith is just not able to get out of the way. You can see he's trying to backpedal, and both of these guys end up on top of it. Normally the officials have better ball awareness than that and are able to get out of the way. And for some reason, I don't know if Billy Smith lost sight of the football. I don't know why he wasn't able to shift one way or the other.
That was a 77-yard touchdown.
And for those of you that are going, well, that's not fair. Well, you're right, it's not. But it happens. There's no doing it over because that happened. He is in the field of play.
That ball was terribly underthrown, and it turns into a 77-yard touchdown for Tennessee.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Charles Schwab. And by Subway. Train hard, eat fresh.
Welcome back to Nashville, where we haven't seen everything, but just about everything today.
Well, Nate Washington had Cromartie beat, and that ball was pretty severely underthrown from Fitzpatrick, and it allowed Cromartie to get back in the play, and it was just the convergence of the four of them, three humans and a football at the same place at the same time.
And Clyde Gates will not return this one out of the end zone. I want to remind you, tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and Bill O'Reilly like you've never seen him before, followed by the season premiere of The Amazing Race, The Good Wife, and The Mentalist, only CBS.
Well, the Tennessee Titans are now on their way to 3-1. A really surprising start, and they should be happy about that, but let's be realistic. Some long faces concerning the status of their quarterback, Jake Lockett.
Bilal Powell with some running room off the left side. Once again to New York, JB and Dan Marino.
A big afternoon by Phillip Rivers.
Yes, sir. He's 35 and 42, 401, 3 touchdowns. This 56-yarder to Antonio Gates. San Diego's up 30-21.
6:54 left in regulation, Greg.
All right, guys, thank you. Meanwhile, Bilal Powell with another carry here as we come up on 6.5 to play here in the fourth quarter.
Well, what a difference in that San Diego offense when Antonio Gates is healthy. He's had a variety of foot and ankle issues over the years. He can still play and play well.
We saw them 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia, Dan. Very impressive on offense. And a screen to the left side for Powell, and Powell across the 35 to the 36-yard line.
I really applaud the Jets for letting Geno Smith continue to play this game. He has got to learn, and you just hope that he comes out the other side a better man for having gone through something like this.
This is Bohannon for a first down. What you're saying, Dan, is they're looking at the long term rather than the short term.
Absolutely. Well, and again, this is not a shot at Matt Sims, but they don't have a Ryan Fitzpatrick to go to. They don't have an experienced backup. Matt Sims has no NFL experience whatsoever. So where's the upside?
Geno Smith over the middle finds his man, tight end Winslow once again, and that's another first down to about the 43.
If this was Matt Castle or another accomplished NFL quarterback, well, then maybe that's an option, because maybe that backup in that particular instance might give you a better chance to win a winnable game. But when you have two inexperienced quarterbacks, and one of them is your heir apparent, which is what Geno Smith is, well, I think you got to take the bad days with the good days. And you just hope there are more good ones than bad ones.
There's Brady Quinn, who is the third quarterback today and inactive.
Yeah, you can tell that he wasn't an option in street clothes, not active today. So
on 2nd and 11, Smith trying to escape and can't do it. That's Zach Brown.
And it's easy to play defense when you're up 38-13. Geno Smith has plenty of time. He can't find anybody, and boy, at the last minute, he's got that ball hanging out there, and then it dawns on him that I'm in trouble, and he pulls it back into his midsection. He had it away from his body there for a moment.
Smith now on third down for Bohannon, and Bohannon spins out of one tackle, spins out of another, and is down at the 45-yard line.
Well, nobody told Tommy Bohannon he's supposed to go down.
And the Jets are going to punt it away.
Nice effort on his part. At 4th and 12, at this stage of the game, Rex isn't going to embarrass his defense by putting them in a bad spot by going for it on 4th and 12.
Ryan Quigley is averaging 51.5 yards a kick today. fair catch called for by Raydon and made inside the 10-yard line.
Well, kudos to Mike Munchak. A lot of people last year were wondering whether Bud Adams made the right choice in deciding to A, hire Mike, and then to B, stick with him last year in his second year when things didn't go well. Mike Munchak has never drawn a paycheck from anyone else other than this franchise.
We always marvel at that. That is when he began in his professional career, this is the organization that has always employed him in some way, shape, or form.
A Hall of Fame football player. On a scale of 1 to 10 as a human being, he's somewhere in that 12 to 13 category. And feeling pretty good about his football team. But again, the locker issue is hanging over everybody.
If you just joined us late, this is what happened to Jake Locker earlier. He was hit and hit again.
And when he went down,
he stayed down.
Something happened. You see him clutching his right hip. They took him off. There was he had no interest in moving that leg at all. And you saw the thumbs up. And there will be no celebration in the Titans locker room after this game. Every one of these guys is going to go right to Jake Locker to try to find out how he's doing.
Second and 9, this is battle straight ahead, not much there. And that will probably take us to the 2-minute warning.
Well, you can see between them 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Tennessee Titans, unless something happens here in the last 2 minutes and 15 seconds, will open this season with 4 games where they will have gone 3-1. And one of the reasons they'll be 3-1 is they have a 0 turnover.
That's a pretty good prescription for winning, isn't it?
This is a 2-minute warning.
2 minutes to play. Here in Nashville, it has been a heck of a day for the Tennessee Titans. They're going to go 3-1 for September. We'll be right back. Well, you can just see a little bit of Geno Smith there. At some point, maybe, down the road in his career, he can look back at this one and smile, but it won't be anytime soon.
No, but you hope that's the case.
3rd and 9. This is Battle getting outside and looking for and finding first down yardage. A reminder once again, tonight on CBS, 60 Minutes, followed by the season premiere of The Amazing Race, The Good Wife, and The Mentalist. That's coming up tonight, only CBS.
Well, that pretty much does it for the Titans. I think they can. I don't think the Jets have any interest in stopping this clock.
No,
they're just going to kneel on the ball, and
this game will wind down with both these teams with their full complement of timeouts. Ken Stabler told me once that the quarterback says that's called win the game, taking the knee.
The victory formation is a sweet deal. And again, you know, the Jets defense, there was a lot of effort there today. They played Tennessee hard, but again, they were just, Tennessee for a lot of the game had a big advantage in the number of plays run.
The Jets travel to Atlanta next week while Tennessee will host the Kansas City Chiefs, and that will do it here.
How big a game is that now between Tennessee and Kansas City?
That's a big win here for the Tennessee Titans, dampened by that injury to quarterback Jake Locker. We've got no further word other than it's a hip injury, and I'm sure overnight and into tomorrow we'll find out more. But meanwhile, the Tennessee Titans move to 3-1 on the season, while the Jets fall to 2-2. Our final score, Tennessee 38 and the Jets 13. Again, tonight on CBS, 60 Minutes, then The Amazing Race, followed by The Good Wife and The Mentalist. For Dan Deerdorf, for all of us here in Nashville, Greg Gumbel saying, so long, the Titans a winner, and it's a big one for them. You've been watching the NFL on CBS. Happy Sunday evening, everyone.